Go ahead, put it on real tight. Hope you brought your best tonight. They say they got the fireworks, yeah, they say they got the show. Here around the chutes, you're the best, so let's go.
This is Texas Toast, a production of TSC Entertainment. I'm your host, Miss Helen. Kick back and enjoy as we toast the best from Texas.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Texas Toast, and we have a very special guest for this podcast by the name of George Ducas. Hello, George. How are you?
Hello. I'm fine. I got a cup of coffee, and I'm ready for some laughs and some chat.
Yes. So I go way back with you to Lipstick Promises, and I saw that you started charting on the Texas music chart. And I was like, is this for real? Really, like George Ducas? And so I did my research, and I love what you did with the video, the 2021 video to Lipstick Promises. You kind of made it like a commemorative and kind of mirrored back then and today. I loved you bringing that back.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that a lot. We worked really hard on that video. I mean, just creatively speaking, like it wasn't work, it was fun, and it was a really cool thing to put together, because obviously it's a special song for me, and you know, really was instrumental in my career, and but to be able to sort of think creatively, constructively about how to incorporate the old video from the 90s and into the new video, and figure out a way to do that. And then we used some new technology, some new projector stuff. You say projector and you think like old school projectors, but this is like a new digital deal, and you can do so much with it. And we did. We projected of course, all kinds of images in the background of that video if you go back and look at it. So thanks. Anyway, it was really fun. CMT played it too. They played the original video in the 90s, and it was a #1 video for them then. And
yes,
it's cool. It's cool that they played it as well here in 2020, 21.
Yeah, I loved it because it brought back so many memories, but then it brought it back to the forefront again. So what a great concept on that. That was awesome.
Thank you.
You have you have some strong musical backgrounds because you have Texas roots, Texas City, Texas, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I spent the first 5 years of my life there. I think I'm gonna go outside because it's a pretty day.
Finally a pretty day. It's been raining here, but I just look at the influences, because you have, looking at your musical influences, you have the whole California thing, like the Bakersfield country, and then plus the Texas country, and that just makes for a great combination.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and what's funny about Bakersfield and like Buck Owens is and people don't realize he's actually a Texan. Was. I got to meet Buck when I was on radio tour, when I was up, sort of hand delivering my like hotcakes, my first couple albums that were on Capitol Records, where Buck also started his career on Capitol Records, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he was born in Alvin, Texas, and eventually made his way to Bakersfield, California, and kind of became, part of that, really the signature behind that Bakersfield sound. He and Don Rich. So it's kind of amazing that I don't know, Texas and California country are not that far apart, and I guess I'm kind of now taking it upon myself to sort of let people know about that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have a great project out. We're going to get to your current music, but I want to talk about your songwriting. I had no idea that you wrote Just Call Me Lonesome.
Yeah, nobody does.
That is like one of my all-time dancing. I mean, how many people have not danced to Just Call Me Lonesome? That's awesome.
You're so sweet. Thank you. Man, we've recently kind of brought that song back a little bit in the live show, but I don't do it really like Radney does it, and no disrespect to his version, but ours has a lot more swagger to it, and a little bit more aggressiveness and rock and roll. I just it's you got to picture like maybe Buck Owens if he was Drunk in Mexico. You know, that's kind of our Just Call Me Lonesome version. But anyway, yeah. But I love that you know the song, love the song. I've never actually recorded it. I've had tons of people tell me to record it after hearing the live version of it, which we play in every show. So maybe someday we will do that.
Mm-hmm. And then I saw you had some other songwriting credits like Beer Run.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah. And I try to play a lot of these songs during my live show as well. Like we'll slip into a segment where we'll play Just Call Me Lonesome, and we'll play Beer Run that, you know, of course, Garth Brooks, recorded, and then he made it a duet with George Jones, which is the ultimate, you know, songwriter moment, you know, and both of them put it on their albums. And the tune, I think, just because of if for no other reason, if not the songwriting, which I don't really think it was the songwriting, I think it was just the event of having both of them do a duet with the song. But it was nominated for a Grammy, which is certainly an honor. And then I'll perform other songs that other folks have recorded, the Dixie Chicks or Gary Allan or Eli Young Band, and of course Randy Rogers Band.
Which ones were those? The Eli Young and Randy Rogers.
Randy Rogers recorded a song of mine called "Kiss Me in the Dark."
Oh, oh my God!
The Eli Young Band recorded their first top 10 hit was a song called "Always the Love Songs."
Yes, yes.
And that's the tune that I wrote for them. So yeah, Randy Rogers Band recorded "Kiss Me in the Dark."
Kiss Me in the Dark. That was a huge hit for them.
Yeah, for sure. The cool thing is, there have been more than one occasion we've played shows together down in Texas, and the guys are, you know, gracious and really cool, and always invite me back up. That's usually the song they close their show with, and so they usually ask me back up to sing the, you know, second verse and the second chorus.
I want to be there for that one day. That's awesome.
Oh, it's fun, man. I mean, Randy's great. I know him probably better than the rest of them, but they're all super guys. There's a reason they've stuck together, you know, for so long.
Absolutely, for sure. So catch me up. So you had, like, all of a sudden, when did you release the new music to Texas?
You're like, what?
I'm hoping I didn't get lost somewhere. So catch me up.
Man, I mean, I'm just doing it more effectively now, maybe, but I actually did focus. Sorry, I almost dropped my phone. I did focus in on Texas on the last album, which was, I guess, released in 2015 or something, and we had 2 top 10s, a song called Breaking Stuff and a song called Cowtown, and then we also released a couple on the Music Row charts, which are kind of like the indie
Right.
now. I don't know if you know anything about that, but
Yeah, I do.
Decided that's pretty useless, pretty much a money grab, so we kind of quit playing that game. But it's kind of like the Nashville equivalent of the Texas chart, but it's just not legitimate. Like, it doesn't really have real weight to it, and the Texas chart does. So I mean, if money's unlimited, I'd release it everywhere, you know, but you know, it's not. Being an independent artist on an independent label, you sort of have to pick and choose your battles. So, but the last record was called 4340, and it did relatively well, but it was, you know, 5 years ago, and this record, I think we're just doing it smarter. We released this record just prior to the pandemic, which is generally not smart to release a product just prior to the pandemic, but we just had a #1 with the song Old Timers.
Yes, you did.
Under a different promotion staff, which I'm truly grateful for finding. And, you know, we're just doing some things, I think, on social media and digitally that to get a little bit more awareness. And it's a really strong album that helps too. You know, I believe in the record. And yeah, we had a #1 on CMT. The very first video we put out, we shot 3 videos for it, which we didn't do previously on the last album. So we've had just a lot more presence online. We've just been doing a whole lot of live streaming, of course, during the pandemic, which I think helped. So, you know, we're starting to make some waves. I feel really, really good about what we're doing back home in Texas.
Oh, you should be proud, because do you know what Cold Bud did last week?
I do. It had like it achieved like a trifecta of sorts.
Yes, it was a trifecta. Most ads, highest debut, most spin increase, 1 week hit the charts at number 74. And it's an awesome song. I love it.
I have to say I appreciate that, first of all. I really do. And you're more, I mean, maybe, and I don't know your audience for the podcast per se, but like you're pretty chart savvy. Like that what you just rattled off. I don't even know do people really know what that all means? You know what I mean? I don't know that they do know what that means unless they're in radio,
Well, and that was my background, radio.
Okay,
Yes.
clearly, right? But
Yes.
like, is that your listeners or your viewers' background? I don't know the answer to that. But like, yeah, it's a super strong first week. Basically, it's what the takeaway is. Super strong first week. I don't even know what the trifecta is. It's like most ads, what are the other?
It's most ads, highest debut, and most spin increase. So basically, I mean, every single programmer that previewed that song and listened to it, it was like, bam, it's going in, we're spinning it. And it's a no-brainer. I mean, there
Yeah.
shouldn't, it's just such a good song. And so what's the background on that one? What was?
Just it's a fun song. I mean, I don't really write in that super commercial space all the time. I mean, like you mentioned, Just Call Me Lonesome. That's a super Bakersfieldy country song, right? But it's not really necessarily, it is a radio song, but it's not like, I mean, Cold Bud is like a commercial for Budweiser. And that's kind of why I stuck it on the record. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of other reason. It just, it's a summer song. It screams fun. And really, Budweiser should be paying me to put.
I thought about that. I did think about that.
And believe me, we're going to have that conversation. We're going to have that conversation. Right now, we're having some other really interesting conversations, but like in that arena. But I think Budweiser definitely needs to be chipping in on this one because it's just a fun song and it really touts their brand.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm glad that radio's digging it. I've been making calls out to the stations that have already added it, like, and just telling them thank you, because it's been a huge, like, I mean, a huge pickup from the get-go. I mean, it's been pretty awesome. I didn't really expect. It's just so hard at radio. There's just a lot of space. I mean, there's not a lot of space out there for new material. Like, I mean, there's just a lot of songs, a lot of artists.
There is.
And, so, I mean,
and one of the things that I tell a lot of the musicians that I work with or friends that are in Texas music that are just, starting out or hitting these charts. The thing is, be so proud because that is a tough chart. I mean, you look at the heavy hitters on the Texas charts, the numerous ones that we have, it's not easy to bust into. And so that's why, because, I know some get discouraged because maybe they didn't, hit the top 40 or top 30, but it was your first release and you made it. That's encouraging. They're looking at you. But back to
and that's good advice. That's good advice. I try to encourage people as well, they're just starting out and give them some constructive criticism, when it's necessary too, like, because you don't want to fill people through, full of falsities and just total hot air. You know what I mean? Like, no one benefits from that. So it's like, hey,
like a lot of musicians, they don't want that blowing smoke up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know where you're going with that. So you try to be constructive with it and positive. And I mean, that never stops. I need that. Like, I don't want people to just go, oh man, it's amazing. You do no wrong. Like, man, I always want to hear what people think is most effective in terms of what I do from a songwriter standpoint and a recording standpoint, show standpoint, all of it, merchandise, every bit of it. Anyway, so go on.
Okay, so the next one I want to talk about on the album, because like literally when I started listening to the album, I was just like, you should see all these crazy notes I have here. But I love
tell me
the lyrics to Country Badass. Like, I want to go like down. I swear, like, there's so many places I want to go put that on a loudspeaker and play it in public to like some of these hanyaks that come down here to the beach where I live. And some, I mean, these wannabes, Dang it, you nailed it. I just started laughing and smiling. I was like, keep going, preach it.
Yeah, we all know, we've all seen those, a few of those guys, you know, and I guess girls too, but it seems like mainly guys. That's so funny. I'm glad you dig that. You know, it's kind of a fan favorite. Now, what's your thought on if that song's released as a radio single?
Well, I had a programmer that was real strict, like with stuff with ass. And
Yeah.
you know, like some of our group would, like, we would have like a panel, and they were like, well, I don't know, but I just think it nails it. I think people would be like me, that it's just the holes in the jeans part, and then you talking about your work boots being dirty. What I mean, it's just like, it tells it. It's like, keep
Yeah.
going, preach it.
Yeah. I mean, I listen, I say that really tongue in cheek, like it's a tongue in cheek song.
It is.
I don't pretend to be more real than the next guy or whatever. I am not a cowboy. I'll be the first to say it, first to admit it. Yeah, I've ridden horses, but I'm not a cowboy, and I'm not going to pretend that I am. I'm not going to tell you that I'm a rodeo cowboy or that I ride bulls when I don't. You know, I mean, I have too much respect for the lifestyle, and frankly, I romanticize about that whole thing. You know, like that whole Western lifestyle and the whole, you know, the whole Chris Ledoux deal, because I'm not that. I grew up going to rodeos and watching those guys, thinking how amazing, but I wound up playing a guitar, you know, and writing songs, and that became my thing. And so, like, I romanticize about the lives that those guys lead, but I'll be the first to admit that I'm not one of them. And so you're not going to see me with a big ass rodeo belt buckle on, because I don't, because I have too much respect for the guys that do that do the circus, you know, that are rodeo cowboys. So that's the place that song is coming from. It's like, be who you are and don't pretend to be someone you're not, you know. But it's okay to romanticize about, you know, cowboys and the Western lifestyle and all that stuff, but just don't spout off about, you know, the ranch that you have when you don't have one. True. Or, you know what I'm saying?
Well, like, and I know exactly what you're saying. And when you look at the whole, you know, talking about rodeo cowboys and cowgirls, the work they put into it, they start when they're young, and they go feed the animals before they eat breakfast. Take care of the animals first. Right. That's the lifestyle. And I love your perspective.
It's a lot. It's a lot of drudgery. It's a lot of hard work before the sun even comes up. And you know what? The same's true with me and recording artists and musicians and songwriters. You know, we don't get paid squat when you factor in all of the wood shedding that we do, you know, not before the sun comes up, but before the spotlights come on. All the time we spend honing our craft, honing our knowledge of our instrument, whether it's our voice or whether it's our guitar fretboard and or drum kit or whatever, piano keys, you know. So I mean, we spend a lot of time doing that, and you know, it's just, you know, it's parallel. The two lives have a lot of parallels. So yeah, that's all I'm trying to say.
Good stuff right there. And then I also, because my catchphrase is, I got this. I really liked I got this. I liked that one. So interesting. But yeah, but if like whoever's tuning in and listening to this podcast when it's released, you have to look at Yellow Rose Motel. I mean, I've got the whole thing. It's all in my tunes now. But interestingly enough,
the record's out there, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you want to look for it, Yellow Rose Motel, you'll be able to find it.
Okay, so this is a first for me. We actually had Kyle emailed me, and he said, we have some fan questions for George.
Wow. Oh, yeah. because of the Instagram story that was spouted.
Oh, okay. Okay, so how old were you when you first performed on stage?
I don't know. I mean, what stage? Like, if the stage is my parents' living room, does that qualify?
Sure.
Okay, then probably like 10.
Do you remember what you sang to your parents in the living room?
It was probably a Willie Nelson song off of the Redheaded Stranger album.
Oh, that's so cool. Or it was something that I wrote.
Or it was something that I wrote. I don't remember. 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 now I'm gonna have to play it. Like the first song I ever wrote was called Women and Whiskey.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like 10. And of course I didn't know anything about either of those things at the time, other than I knew nothing about whiskey and even less about women. So I think I was just listening to a lot of Willie Nelson, and I just tried to write a song like Willie Nelson.
Oh, that is so cool.
It sounds eerily like a Willie Nelson song because I borrowed everything I knew from Willie at the time. So it's like this. I don't think I can sing you the whole song. I'll just like get you a verse and a chorus.
Yeah.
He was a rugged man from his big felt hat to the tips of his boots. Didn't have a trouble in the world. He had a fine woman too. Till one day she left him, and he was so blue. Turned into drunk and a bum, and he went crazy too. Singing women and whiskey, they're both so risky. They're both good for nothing at all. Women and whiskey, they're both so risky. Here we go. They both make your billfold small.
Oh, that is awesome. Love, love, love it. Thank you for that, George. I'm just like smiling so much my face is starting to hurt. That's too precious. 10 years old.
They both make your billfold small. That was the rhyme. That was the rhyme that I came up with at the time. I'm not sure I could beat that. I don't think I can beat that today.
I don't know. I'm telling you. Wow. And it's love it. And thank you so much for taking the time to play that. That's amazing. And so, yeah. And so now we're going to move to another one. And I just had somebody ask me about this last night. How do you feel about TikTok? How do you feel about that? Tell me, because I'm like still trying to figure that out.
Honestly, I just don't even get it at all.
What I said. Exactly.
I don't get it. I don't get it a bit, but I mean, I've got someone really capable kind of helping me get it running. I have a handful of friends, all under the Team GD or Team George Ducas kind of moniker, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or now TikTok. And this, group of maybe this many people help kind of spread the word about my music, and they're doing a great job on TikTok, although I have to admit I never get on there. I just I don't understand it. I mean, everybody from my daughter to my best friend to my ex-wife, they all send me TikTok like fun
my son
stuff.
does too. My son does too, and it's hilarious stuff.
It's funny, but I don't have any desire to have an account on there. But I do have an account on there, and it's all because of Team GD.
Your team,
so
right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm really appreciative, and they don't do it for. I mean, they're just doing it to spread the word. Like, I mean, they're not paid professionals or anything. So, but they certainly are professional quality. So I'm grateful.
Yeah, because it's so funny. Like, I can be around my friends, like my age group, not like my son or the younger ones, and they're like, "Hey, did you see this on TikTok?" I'm like, "Dude, seriously, you have time for TikTok? I don't have time."
No. Honestly, I hardly have time for Twitter. I mean, or like that's my other afterthought, like social media afterthought. I just don't find Twitter interesting at all. Instagram, I actually dig it.
Yes.
Facebook, I ditched my personal profile there years ago, and all I have there is the music page. There's too much drama. It's too much garbage and noise on Facebook. I'm not a fan.
Right. And so that segues it good into the next question. And I can't believe somebody would ask this, which today happens to be my birthday, and they want to know how old you are.
29.
Okay, I'm 30.
There you go.
That's how I feel.
What an annoying question.
I know, Kyle. Because he texted me, he said, "I sent you an email for 3 fan questions," and I got to how old are you? I was like, what? Seriously? Anyway,
wait,
so yeah.
Kyle asked that question?
No, he emailed me these questions.
Oh, okay.
And then I saw that and I was like, who does that? It's like, but I just start telling him how I feel.
I quit answering that I don't know, 5 years ago. I was just like, that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, people can figure out if they really dig around online, sure, certainly, but I'm not going to advertise it.
Right.
I want the 10 years back that I gave to other artists by writing their songs. That's what I want.
There you go. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to count those 10.
So you're outperforming. What are some of your shows you have coming up?
Yeah. So, man, we've kind of been going at it pretty good here lately. I mean, we didn't play a show for 14 or 15 months. And then all of a sudden sort of things sort of kind of magically came back. And my first shows were mid-April at in Waco and Austin at the Backyard in a place called Wild West. And then we made a run to Iowa, played a couple shows in Des Moines and Brooklyn, Iowa at a cool opera house. And then back down to Texas, we just played Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston. And I'm back there again this weekend in Bull Verde, which is basically like San Antonio area.
Right.
And that one's just acoustic, but the rest of these have been full on shows. And then I'm back there again like early June for a couple shows. Playing Green Hall June 4th.
Yes.
And then June 5th is Tyler, Texas, at a honky tonk called the Ramblin' Rose.
Green Hall, love it. And, I will tell you, when Radney Foster, when it was back in that day, now I'm going to really age myself, but when it was back in that day, when Just Call Me Lonesome was the song to dance to, I actually was at Green Hall when he was playing.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's cool. That's
good
awesome.
times at Green Hall.
Yeah, I mean, well, to answer the age question again without answering it, but like
we gotta go back to that.
Radney's like the uncle / older brother that I never had. I mean, I never had an older brother or an uncle, so he was already 10 or 12 years into this business when I showed up, and he took me under his wing. And since then it's kind of become, quite the revered Texas singer-songwriter. And kind of I'm coming up behind him, and whether it's in his shadow or not, but I don't know, but I'm doing my own thing certainly now, and hopefully I will be, as before it's all said and done, highly thought of back home in Texas as well.
Yes. Well, you've got a lot of good stuff going on, and I thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us. And one other question I always ask, since this is Texas Toast, and then we do a chart wrap during the week called Texas on Tap, but if you were a cocktail, what would you be?
Oh man, an old fashioned.
Okay, there you go.
I love that drink. I love that drink. And
yes.
I was introduced to it real quick by a man who, other than my own father, is my favorite man on the planet that I know well and personally, or did know, and that's my ex father-in-law. And I say that sounds funny talking about your ex father-in-law, like, but I'm still really good friends with my ex-wife, and we're still very close. And he passed away. My ex father-in-law passed away recently, but he was from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And he made the most awesome old fashioned, and that's the first time I tasted it, and I tasted it for years because he and his daughter and I were married for quite some time and had 2 great kids that we're still raising together. And but man, he could make a mean old fashioned. It was awesome. All
right, well, that's it. And hopefully I'll get to see you down the road, and keep up the good work, keep doing what you're doing, and just appreciate you so much. It's just been such an honor to talk to someone that with such a musical background. I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate the heck. I really appreciate y'all seeking me out and having me. I really do. I appreciate the heck out of that. And exposing me to your fan base, and which I assume is largely in Texas, right? So I encourage everybody to look me up, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or whatever their methods are, and to follow me on Bands in Town. We actually have a text app that we update people on shows as well, where if they text us their zip code, we send them updates on shows that we're playing. If the shows are within 50 to 100 miles of them.
Yes.
So that's That's kind of a new thing too. But I appreciate you having me so much. I enjoyed it. I love your house there. I don't know if that's like a summer home.
No,
or
well,
what.
I have you ever heard of the town Matagorda, Texas?
I have.
Okay, that's yeah. Basically, we're down here on the island, and East Bay is back there. I fish all the time. I throw artificial topwater is my favorite, and fish tournaments, and angling is my passion.
That's beautiful. That's
Yes.
great.
Yes.
Well, it looks fantastic. I would love to make it your way sometime.
Anytime you can get on the boat and go fishing with us, take a little break.
That's heck yeah, absolutely.
We'll
I'd
go
love
through
that.
we'll go through the harbor and blast country badass.
I love it. I freaking love it. Let's do that.
Okay.
Maybe we put on a show down there. That'd be fun too.
That would be awesome. They would love it here. They would love it. So, all right. Well, keep up the good work. And again, I can't thank you enough. Thank you, George.
Thank you so much.
And with a heavy tongue, she knew where I was from. As she left, I dared to say, well, you can go to hell. Hell, I'll go to Texas. I've had my fill of every place but home.